Welcome to the third episode of the 12squared podcast by Basenode. Today's guest is Jacob Lindahl, former freelancer and YouTuber. I talked to him about his predictions of the mainstream adoption of cryptocurrencies among freelancers and what he does to keep track of his crypto. Welcome to the third episode of the 12squared podcast by Basenode. I'm Felix Hosse, and today it's my pleasure to welcome Jacob Lindahl. Jacob is a former freelancer and now full-time contractor with a lot of experience in the crypto space. Jacob, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on, Felix.
Before we get going, can you give a short introduction about who you are and what you do right now?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm a former freelancer. I started freelancing in the early summer of 2019 and just recently moved into a full-time contract position in June of this year. So I had about 2 years of freelancing experience, and during that time I did web development, different professional tech consulting roles. Just, sometimes people would call me up, ask for help with debugging, something like that. Did a couple of long-term projects. So kind of a really mixed bag there. So a decent, well-rounded freelance experience, I'd like to think. And then starting in about January of this year, so I'd been involved in cryptocurrency and crypto projects, local crypto communities for, probably since about 2016, 2017, but then come January, February of this year, I got a lot more involved and got involved with this organization called the Blockchain Acceleration Foundation, which is a crypto education nonprofit out of California. So I got involved with that organization, and through that organization, I taught a Solidity class. So Solidity is the smart contract programming language for Ethereum. So if you write smart contracts or dApps on the Ethereum platform, you'll be writing a lot of Solidity. So I taught a Solidity class through the Blockchain Acceleration Foundation. And then I was still freelancing mostly full-time until about May of this year, when I joined the Near Foundation as a full-time contractor. And Near is a layer 1 cryptocurrency. So now I work as a full-time contractor on the education team at the Near Foundation.
All right. Perfect. That was I guess the experience in crypto comes from a very different perspective than usually our usual guests, right? Because they are more into using crypto as a means of payment. Do you have any experience with that?
So when I was a freelancer, I accepted payment exclusively in fiat, and largely that was just due to a lack of infrastructure, especially as you're trying to build out your name and credibility as a freelancer. There are payment platforms that will facilitate payment between a client and the freelancer, and kind of be the middleman and resolve disputes and stuff like that. Of course, they take a hefty fee, around 20%, depending on the platform, to play that middleman role. But there's just not really the infrastructure in place, or I wasn't able to find infrastructure that supported that sort of facilitation between the client and the freelancer in terms of crypto payments. So I was only fiat, but being involved in crypto since 2016, 2017, I would have been more than happy to take payments in crypto. It's just the infrastructure really wasn't there.
Yeah. Do you think the infrastructure wasn't there because the US? I assume you mainly work for clients also within the US.
Right. I'm based in the US. I had one or two from Canada and Australia, but primarily US.
Yeah. Well, do you think that there is no infrastructure for payments in crypto because within the US there is such a strong network of other payment alternatives? Or is it?
Like PayPal, is that like
Yeah,
just
PayPal
the
or
fiat alternatives
Venmo.
are so
Yeah,
much easier to use?
right.
Hmm.
Do you think that's the
Yeah,
reason,
definitely.
or is it just something else?
Well, if you're familiar with, like when Binance tried to open up in the United States, they had to create like their whole separate Binance.us exchange to deal with all the regulations.
Yeah,
The US has, although like there's a lot of crypto activity in the US, there's also a lot of questions around the regulations. And I'm not a lawyer, so I can't speak
yeah,
very much to the regulations in the United States, but I understand that's a um, difficult side of things here,
right. Yeah,
just
yeah.
dealing with
Like
the regulations.
as far as we can see it from across the pond, there are a lot of questions still to be answered in the US there, I guess.
Hmm.
How do you use cryptocurrencies in your daily life? What, like, do you invest, or what? How do you use them?
Yeah, so I use cryptocurrencies as an investment vehicle and as like their practical use because I'm a developer. I'm a blockchain developer. I write smart contracts and stuff. So I'll, spend a little bit of Ethereum to deploy a smart contract to the blockchain and, using Ethereum as as the Ethereum gas, that it's
Right.
uh, how it works within the network. So I use Ethereum in that regard, and also as an investment vehicle. I just have set up a couple of recurring investments that I pay into every week or every month or so. I have a couple different ones set up, and so it just automatically deducts from my bank account, and that's how I invest in cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And then of course I use that to deploy smart contracts. So
Right. That sounds very systematic. Do you use any accounting for it, or how do you keep track of all the investments?
right. So unfortunately, well, unfortunately, fortunately, there are a lot of different exchanges out there that offer a bunch of different features. And I try and limit how many exchanges I have cryptocurrency on, because obviously that's going to get more and more complex as you use more and more different exchanges. I use primarily two different exchanges right now. And even
Yeah.
that, I'm looking at it like I make this recurring investment every week. And this is just going to be a nightmare when it comes to doing taxes. So the
Right.
only solution I've found for keeping track of all of that, like, yeah, it's all on the blockchain. So I could theoretically write a script or just like scrape all of that data, compile it all together. But that's a lot of work, even for me, right? So the only tool that I found that looks like it would actually fit this use case is called Coin Tracker.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, so far it's been decent. It's actually quite useful for figuring out like what is your net worth and all of your crypto together, because you can say, okay, here's my Ethereum address. Like maybe this is my hardware wallet address. Here's my MetaMask wallet address. Here is, I'm on Coinbase or Gemini or Binance or whatever, and you give them your different accounts, and then I'll kind of compile them all together and say, here's your net worth in crypto. And that's a really useful feature. I really like that. Um,
Mhm.
uh, and then they also do like compile all your transactions and help you
In
figure
in
out
this one, you have to
capital
enter
gains and
your
taxes and stuff.
your crypto by hand, or how do you do that?
So most apps have you like type in your each transaction manually, and since I do a bunch of uh, like automatic investments, I don't want to do that. I would rather it
Yeah.
just, I mean, it's all the information's there. If I just give you an address, you should be able
Exactly.
to compile it. So CoinTracker mostly does that well. Um, but one of the issues with CoinTracker is that they have a limit for how many different transactions per like pay tier. So one is like 25 transactions or 100 transactions or 200 transactions or something like that. But if I'm making like a couple different transactions every week for 52 weeks a year, I'm easily
Yeah.
going to blow over that limit.
Doesn't seem to be suitable. Yeah. Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. So what's your, let's say, outlook on the future of freelancers using crypto? Do you have any, do you have any, you know, prognosis on that one?
On freelancers using crypto. So I think one of the problems that a lot of people have mentioned before in crypto space right now is it's like Bitcoin. It's like big and slow. It acts like gold. Fees are really high, and it's really not suitable for, your day-to-day transactions. Or, if I'm just doing, because I did a lot of like small short-term contracts for my freelancing. It was like, write this really simple website, or help me fix this particular issue, or implement this specific feature in this app, right? I wasn't, implementing an entire web app and then maintaining it for 6 months. I was doing more short-term stuff. And so those contracts would be a lot smaller in dollar value, where if I was transacting in Bitcoin, the transaction fee is going to be a significant percentage of whatever the value of the contract is. And if you add on top of that, like a platform fee or something, I could easily be like out between like way more than 20%, something like 40% or more, depending on the day, depending on how much Bitcoin fees are. So Bitcoin, Ethereum are kind of big and slow, and not, well, Ethereum depending on the day, again, depending on the gas fees. And if it's highly dependent on just whatever day the person decides to pay, that's not really suitable for my use case as a freelancer, where, okay, this is your due date, I would like you to pay by this day. Well, today gas fees, because, oh, this new NFT dropped, gas fees are 600 way or something. That's not suitable, right? I can't work with that. So I need something like that's small and fast, and where fees are really low. So something like what Nano, if you're familiar with the cryptocurrency Nano, I really liked what they were trying to do. Nano, I don't know, it's not quite as popular now as it was a couple of years ago, but that type of, that category of cryptocurrency where it's just small, fast, next to zero fees, like that's what I would have wanted in a cryptocurrency for, like as a freelancer.
Yeah. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the Lightning Network?
The Lightning Network?
Yeah.
I haven't used the Lightning Network very much. I know that it's like a layer 2 solution, secondary chain, where you conduct all of your transactions off the main Bitcoin chain, and then you just kind of like commit a final result that ends up being one transaction, and so that reduces all your fees. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
This is how it should work. Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't used that very much, unfortunately, but I mean, it sounds like a step in the right direction. Yeah.
What is your, do you think that those kind of roadblocks will be solved in the next couple of years, or is there a longer way to go for freelancers to experience the full benefits of cryptocurrencies?
Mm-hmm. So I'm optimistic about the next couple of years with the advent of all these new DeFi platforms. Like, it's making it easier for the common man to get into cryptocurrency, because all these new DeFi platforms are providing what a normal person would kind of expect out of a typical bank, right? So all the different services that are provided, lending, interest, just your standard set of financial services. It's more familiar to someone who has only dealt with fiat for their entire life. And, it's just like, okay, so now instead of dealing with dollars, I'm dealing with Bitcoin, but otherwise everything else is the same, right? So that makes it easier for the average person. And then with more and larger cryptocurrencies moving towards proof of stake, like Ethereum, with Ethereum 2.0, which is scheduled now for sometime Q1 2022, I think. I think it used to be Q4 2021, and I think they moved it. Is that right? So it's now like Q1 2022, something like that. Cross my fingers, is when Ethereum will finally move to proof of stake. Hopefully that will lead to higher transaction throughput and lower gas fees. That's what I'm hoping for. I work for the Near protocol, so obviously I'm biased. Near protocol is a proof of stake cryptocurrency, and transactions are resolved within like 10 seconds, and gas fees are astronomically low. So like transaction fees are fractions of fractions of fractions of pennies. So I think that is, if we could get more adoption for a proof of stake cryptocurrency that has those sorts of features where it's really fast and really cheap transaction fees. That's what I want as a freelancer, because that would make it so much easier for me to conduct my day-to-day business. Because my day-to-day business is not, you know, I don't have an hour to wait for 6 confirmations on the Bitcoin blockchain, and I don't have $30 to spend on every Ethereum transaction. So I want something that's fast and cheap.
All right. The last question would be, what kind of developments do you currently see in the crypto space which most excites you?
What kind of development do I see in the crypto space that most excites me?
Yeah.
That's a really, really good question. So one of the more popular developments in the crypto space lately has been like NFTs. You know, we had a big explosion of NFTs a couple months ago, and it's kind of resurging a little bit right now with like the loot NFTs. I personally am not a terribly sentimental person, so art NFTs don't really do it for me. But what I do see right now is people realizing the value, like more broadly with the advent of everyone being super excited about NFTs, is the ability for people to see that cryptocurrency can be more than just, oh, it's like a stock. It's like fake internet money. It's, you know, you buy it and then you hope that it spikes again. So really, I guess what I'm trying to say is development in cryptocurrency is not, it's not just all of us who are already in the crypto space. It's not just, oh, look, I have written Ethereum smart contracts. I work for a cryptocurrency. This is a really cool tech that I see coming out of crypto. What I'm more excited about is cryptocurrency, like the DeFi platforms. They look like, they act like, or they have the ability to look and act like traditional banks. I'm excited for people who don't know anything about crypto to say, I can get like 100 times the interest rate as a regular bank, because like regular bank interest rates right now are like 0.2% or something. It's in the US at least, it's really, really low. I can get like 100 times or 10 times that if I use cryptocurrency, like, and it works and acts like a regular bank. That's what I'm excited about. I'm excited for all these new platforms that are appealing to normal people, because I know it's really easy for me as a super techie person to get in my super techie complicated world and say, oh, look, these new consensus mechanisms are so cool, or look, we're able to reduce gas fees for this particular virtual machine instruction. That's so cool. Or this is going to change how I deploy my smart contracts. That's great for me. But what's really exciting for me is seeing people who don't use crypto on a daily basis saying, I can use crypto.
Yeah.
And someone who's not on their computer 24/7 saying, it works just like my online bank. That's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get that. This is also the reason why I initially got into crypto, because I see the usefulness in just for the general public. And once it is used by the general public, we have so much societal change and so much just change for the better, and I'm excited for that too. All right, Jacob, tell us where people can find you, can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
What platforms to use.
So I'm on the internet in a couple different places. So one thing that I do that's kind of fun, just like a side project of mine, is I run a YouTube channel. It's called Geek Launch, all one word. It's not Geek Lunch. Geek Launch, like we're launching geeks into space or something like that. So you can find that on YouTube. I do like tech tips, tutorials, like coding. How do you make this in on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, stuff like that. Different programming tutorials. I have a series on how to build a blockchain in Rust. So if you're interested in that. Otherwise, I just made a new Twitter account a couple months ago. It's at sudo_build. So sudo like the Linux command, sudo_build. That's me on Twitter. Yeah, and that's probably just about it. So YouTube and Twitter are the two places that you could most easily find me. Or I'm on GitHub at Encody, ENCODY. If you want to follow what I do on a daily basis. Lots of open source coding going on.
All right, perfect. We will actually include those links and those handles, you know, in the links below in the show notes, so nobody will, you know, who wants to reach out to you will miss you there. Perfect. That was the third episode. Thank you so much for being here, and to our viewers and listeners, thank you so much for you know, giving us your time. Next week there will be another episode, and I'm personally looking forward to it, and see you around. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Felix. It's a real pleasure.